Hi guys, I just want to take a minute and show you some of the features of the rubric tool and how that gets set up when you are in Moodle, and then we'll look in a different video on how to use it in Turnitin because they are set up a little bit differently. So I am in an actual class that was taught last fall that I taught 100% online. This was a 7-week class, and what I want to show you is an assignment that we have. I have turned editing on, as you can see. I actually had a peer mentor for this class, and we each week put a video up of us in a Zoom meeting with both of us talking. So that's another thing that's interesting you can do with Zoom. You can have multiple people in it. But what I want to do is go to the college success paper and show you how we use the rubric tool. So with editing turned on, I just clicked on the title of the assignment, and I get the gear option here. I also could have chosen edit settings from that front page. I'm just trying to show you that there are different ways to get there. And actually, I don't want to be in edit settings. I apologize. I'm going to go back. Let me just hit my back button. What I want to do is, because the assignment is already set up, what I want to do is go to advanced grading. You only get this option if you are the instructor for the course. So you have to have that role or those permissions assigned to your account to get it. And you get 3 options if there is a rubric assigned already. You only get 2 if there are not. So I have the option to edit the current definition. What you get if you are starting from scratch is either to create one from a template or to create one from scratch. But the screen's basically the same however you want to set it up. So I'm able to edit. I didn't, in this class, we did not show the rubric for the first assignment to the students. But the way that you edit the rubric is you literally just click in these different parts, and you can assign points. You can change the descriptions. We had this rubric. This is for the LSUA 1001 course. And we skipped points. It's important in Moodle that you have a 0 for they did not submit, or even if you have a student that didn't turn it in, if you use the rubric to grade it, they're going to get a minimum number of points. So you probably do want to have a column that says did not submit. I have mine going from 0 to the highest for each category. You can actually have different numbers of blocks on each row. In this one, we did them all the same, but you can actually see I could add a criterion here, and I could delete off some of the individual ones and say, I only want this to be, they either did it or they didn't. So for this criterion, which I might say the criterion was met deadline, so they were on time, so they either were on time or they weren't. Or you might have 3, so on time submission, or late or never. You can set that up however you like. Now, I don't want to mess this up because I'm in a real class, so I'm going to delete this. But you can see that you can have two columns on this row, and this row has 5, and you can have 3 on some. So you can really structure it. What you want to make sure is that the points that are the highest for each row should sum up to the total points for that particular assignment. So let me take this off, and I'm going to go in, and I'm going to actually show you what it looks like when you're grading and why this is so easy to do. So I'm leaving because I don't want to save that. So I want to go down, and I can view all submissions, or I can click grade. So you can see I actually have students in here, and I have graded their information. So I'm going to actually just click on this student's record. Please keep this stuff confidential. These aren't supposed to, this is a past class, so I'm showing you real work. But if you go into a rubric that's set up when it's time to grade, you look at their paper, and you can actually open it either in the same window or in a different window. So I have 2 screens, so mine's opening on my other screen. You can actually split this screen and have them show up. And as you read through their paper, you literally just click on the box, and it will turn green. and I don't want to change her grade because this has already been submitted, but I could actually click a different box and then change it. And that's going to go, when I hit save, that's going to go to the grade book. So they're going to immediately know what their area is. And what I love about it is that you actually, if I can get down here and scroll over, my screen was a little bit odd. You can actually set it up where you can write comments on each criterion, right? And then you also have a comment box at the bottom. And the students can go back into the assignment and see both your specific comments about what they missed in regards to grammatical errors or what they missed in regards to organization of the document and what you were looking for, as well as get an overall comment. So this is a little different in how I did your Turnitin assignments, where you were able to see, you could do inline comments, you could put the bubbles, you could put an overall comment, you can make an audio comment. So there's some different ways that you can do that. So I love using the rubric. If you have a large class and you need to grade a lot of papers, this kind of ability to be objective and have every student graded on the same criterion, it's really helpful, especially if you're using academic assistants. They love having that option of having a rubric so that they are putting in and giving students feedback in the similar way that the faculty member would if they were doing it themselves. So I am going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to switch over to another alternative. This is in a test course, and I think I have this one. Let me share my screen again. Share my screen. I think this one is set up as a grading guide. So I'm going to go to advanced grading, or I'll show you how you do it. Well, no, this one is set up as simple direct grading. But the way that when you go to advanced setting, you get this drop-down box at the top, and you can either choose rubric. This is where I was telling you, you get to define a new one from scratch, or you can create one from a template. And we have several out here if you want something to use as a starting point. Tells you how many points it is, and you literally just at the bottom say use this template, and it'll drop that one in. And there are a few that are actually public and out there if you wish to do that. But what I wanted to show next is the grading guide. So with a rubric, if you click the box and the box is worth 10 points, they're going to get 10 points. And it's not reasonable, as you saw the way that the screen stretched across, it's not reasonable to have 10 columns, right? And it gets really hard to make rubrics where you can describe all 10 of those boxes. So what a grading guide does, the rubric would actually force you to pick 10, and if your next category was 8, you can either give them 8 or 10, but you can't give them 9. And so what a grading guide does is it allows you, let me see if I have any grading guides in here. We'll use this one. It allows you to give kind of a description of it, right? So that you can go in and say, it'll tell the grader what the maximum score is for this criterion, but it doesn't limit them to any number between 0 and whatever that number is. So and it gives a description for the grader. So content relevant and focused. The description for the students is consistently presents a focused central idea with supporting information that addressed all 7 areas of that particular question. You can actually, what I would suggest you do is if you have a description for your graders, you would want to list what the 7 areas are that you're looking for. Students don't see the description for graders, but what it does is it puts on the screen what the graders need to look for, so they don't have to go from a printed document to an iPad to a tab. They can have stuff all right there where they need it. Some people prefer to work with paper. I'm not saying you can't work with paper, but there are mechanisms within the software to have it all display on the screen for you. These also, if you use a grading guide, these also, once they are saved and used, they go straight to the grade book. So you don't have to tally it on a side and figure out what their total was and make sure you get the math right and put it in. The computer will do it for you. So that's a little bit on rubrics and grading guides in the Moodle platform. So you use rubrics or grading guides only with the assignment tool. And I did want to go back and show you one more thing. just to make sure that you are looking at it. So when you get this add activity or resource and you're working on your classes or your sandbox or whatever you're doing, these are all the different activities that can be used in Moodle, and these are all the different resources. So the difference, typically, the resource is typically something the faculty member will give the student. The book can be set up as a group tool, but mostly these are set up where the faculty member is giving information to the student and the student doesn't reply on this tool. Whereas the activities are things that you give them direction and the students actually have to do something to get a grade. So they either have to submit an assignment or make posts. And when you click on these different icons, it actually gives you a description of what that tool does. So the forum tool, and there's some of them are really long, but if you forget or if you're not sure what that tool does, you can use the descriptions here on the side as you go to add it. So just a quick summary: if you're doing an assignment and you add it, and you do have to give it a name, sample rubric assignment, and you would put the instructions in for the student, and you would go to set up, whoops, I always do expand all. You would set up your timing, your dates. You would set up what kind of submission. Do you want them to be able to type in the text box as well, or do you only want them to submit a file attachment? You can set word limits. This is important. How are you going to give them feedback? Are you going to give them comments? Are you going to send them a file, or is it possibly both? You have to have that checked or you won't get the box to drop the file in. I don't recommend you use this inline commenting. That's the thing that we have turned off, so I don't think it will even let you. At this point, I may have it because I'm an administrator. These question marks here actually do also give you explanations of what each thing does. So you initially do your assignment for setup. You say how many points it is. You go through all of these kinds of different things, or you're going to put completion activities on it. Save and display then opens that particular assignment, and this is where I can get my box and go to advanced grading, say it's going to be a rubric, and it'll give me those options. Or if I set a rubric and I'm like, no, I'd rather have a grading guide, I can change it that way and it'll actually give you those options. So just like the rubric, when you do a grading guide, you get to decide, you pick a name and a description, but you literally get to say, what's the name of the criterion? What's the description for, look, click here, that's the name of the criterion. This would be the description for students. This would be the description for graders, and this would be your maximum score. You can have as many criterion as you want, but you obviously want to keep it manageable for class size and really, again, trying to measure the outcomes of what that assignment's trying to measure. So I hope this helps.